If you thought you'd seen every twist the NBA had to offer, think again, because tonight we're diving into a scandal so wild, so unexpected, that even Klay Thompson's closest friends are pretending they never saw it coming. And the moment LeBron James' name got dragged into this, the internet didn't just react, it erupted. Picture this: a late-night private jet, engine still warm, landing quietly at a hidden runway in Los Angeles. Paparazzi asleep, reporters clueless, fans scrolling their phones, unaware that one of the biggest behind-the-scenes meetings in NBA history was already happening inside that aircraft. And when people found out who was waiting for Klay in that cabin, yeah, the internet couldn't believe it, and you won't either. Let me ask you something. If you were in this position, same pressure, same betrayal, same secret deal energy, what would you do? Because Klay had two choices: walk away or walk inside that jet and face the one man who could change his entire future. Bro said too much, and they got him. NBA politics is nastier than we think. Let's break it all down, and trust me, it gets uglier. From the outside, everything about Klay Thompson looked normal. The calm smile, the veteran confidence, the interviews where he said he was focused on season, and the perfectly rehearsed lines about being loyal to the core. But behind the scenes, something had shifted. People inside the Warriors camp weren't saying out loud, but you could feel the tension every time Klay walked through the tunnel. His steps were slower, his nods were shorter, his answers during press conferences sounded like a man reading from a script he didn't even believe anymore. That wasn't the Klay fans grew up watching. That was someone calculating his next move. Weeks before the private jet incident, small leaks had already begun dripping out. A couple of anonymous trainers claimed they overheard conversations that didn't sound like Klay was planning on staying. Someone from the Warriors media team whispered about odd silence between him and Steph. And then there were the DMs, the kind that nobody wants to admit they sent, but somehow they always end up screenshotted anyway. One so-called insider messaged a popular NBA blog at 2 a.m. saying, "Klay been acting different. He's meeting somebody big soon. And it ain't anyone from Golden State." The post barely got attention at first, but they had no idea what was coming. For the first time in years, Klay had stopped bringing up his connection to the Bay. The memories, the championships, the brotherhood, all of that seemed like a story he'd already filed away in a cabinet labeled past life. He started appearing alone more often. No team dinners, no hangs with Draymond, no random Stephen Klay golf clips. Just empty spaces where there used to be a duo the NBA swore would never split. And fans noticed. Comment sections went from worried to chaotic overnight. Why does Klay look checked out? Something happened. You can see it in his eyes. He's gone. I'm calling it early. But none of that was loud enough to prepare anyone for what Klay did next. One Thursday evening, a private car picked him up from his place. No team driver, no security familiar to the Warriors. The plates were out of state. The driver didn't speak. Klay had a small backpack and a hood pulled low. This wasn't a player leaving for a quick workout. This was a man trying to disappear for a few hours without anyone tracking his location. And the craziest part? This wasn't even the first time. Airport employees later revealed that Klay had passed through a private terminal twice in the last month with no registered outgoing flights under his name, meaning someone else was arranging the trips, someone powerful enough to keep it quiet. The car took him through a side gate, usually reserved for celebrities who were trying to hide divorces, secret children, or late-night rehab check-ins. Not NBA stars planning casual off-season training sessions. The staff at the terminal said Klay never looked up. He walked with the posture of a man carrying something heavy, not physically, but mentally, like a secret waiting to explode. Nobody knew where he was going, except for the two people responsible for making sure no one else found out. The jet was already running. Lights dimmed, pilots instructed to keep radio chatter to a minimum. This wasn't a scheduled flight. This was a don't ask questions flight. And that's where things get interesting. Because once Klay stepped on board, he didn't sit. He didn't relax. He didn't even look around. Instead, he opened his phone, scrolled through a string of messages, and let out a deep sigh, the type that lets you know a decision has already been made. One of those messages, leaked later, read, "Once you land, go straight in. Don't hesitate. He's expecting you, and he doesn't want anyone else involved. He, not they, not the team. Just..." The fans who saw that leaked screenshot spent 2 full days debating who he was. Some swore it was a Warriors executive trying to fix the fallout from a tense locker room moment. Others insisted it was someone from Nike, desperate to keep Klay in a headline-worthy contract situation. But nobody guessed the real answer, because nobody was thinking big enough. While the jet cut through the night sky, Klay stared out the window with that familiar distant look. The same look he had after the injuries, after the losses, after all those nights he questioned whether he'd ever be the same again. But this time, that look wasn't about doubt. It was about preparing for impact. Meanwhile, reports started circulating online. A burner account with less than 200 followers tweeted out, "Klay Thompson spotted boarding a flight to LA, and the meeting he's having will change everything." People laughed it off. Another fake NBA rumor. Another kid clout chasing. Except this time, the kid wasn't lying. When the jet landed in Los Angeles, not LAX, but at a much smaller, much more discreet airport outside the city, a black SUV was already waiting on the runway. No lights, no cameras, no security escort wearing team logos, just tinted windows and a driver who didn't even bother stepping out. Klay grabbed his bag, stepped down from the stairs, and paused for a moment, not to enjoy the weather, but like someone rehearsing what he was about to say. He got into the SUV. The door shut, and that's when things took a turn nobody saw coming. The SUV didn't drive toward the city, the hotels, or any of the usual athlete meetup spots. It drove back toward another gate, another private hangar, another aircraft. This one wasn't preparing to take off. It had already landed, and inside that cabin sat the person Klay had been told not to hesitate, walking toward. The one individual powerful enough to make this meeting dangerous, career-altering, and absolutely impossible to keep secret forever. The real reason Klay was in LA wasn't about training, business, or endorsements. It was about a conversation he'd been avoiding for months. A conversation that could determine where he'd play next, who he'd play with, and whether the NBA landscape as we know it was about to shift in a way nobody expected. And when he walked up the steps of that second aircraft, the air changed. The temperature dropped. His heartbeat slowed, because sitting inside, in the dim glow of the cabin lights, was the last person anyone thought he'd secretly meet without the Warriors knowing. A man staring back at him with an expression that said, "I've been waiting." Klay inhaled, swallowed hard, and stepped inside. What he heard next, what was said in that cabin, what was offered, that was the moment everything changed. And trust me, even his enemies didn't expect what came next. Klay stepped inside that dimly lit cabin, the door sealed behind him, and for a moment, the silence felt heavier than the entire NBA season. He stood still, eyes adjusting to the soft gold lighting bouncing off the leather seats. And then there he was, LeBron James, sitting comfortably like a man who had already planned the next 10 moves on a chessboard Klay didn't even know he was playing. No handshake, no welcome, no small talk. LeBron just looked at him and said quietly, "You're late." Klay froze, not because of the words, but because of the tone. It wasn't the playful, motivational LeBron from interviews. This was strategic LeBron, future planning LeBron. The same LeBron who once turned a random Miami meeting into the most shocking big three in league history. The same LeBron who could transform a team, a city, a narrative, all before breakfast. Klay took a seat across from him, and neither of them spoke for 10 full seconds. That silence would become the most replayed clip in fan-edited conspiracy videos later. But in that moment, it was nothing but pure calculation. Finally, LeBron leaned forward and said, "You know why you're here." Klay didn't deny it, didn't pretend he was confused, didn't even hesitate. Instead, he pulled out his phone, the same one with the leaked text thread, the same one the internet had been zooming in on all week, and placed it face down on the table like someone surrendering evidence. "Let's talk," Klay said. That's when things took a turn. According to a later leak report, which may or may not come from a flight crew member with suspiciously detailed memory. LeBron slid a folder across the table. Not fancy, not dramatic, just a plain black folder thick enough to show it wasn't a simple pitch. It was a blueprint. Inside were mock-ups, graphics, potential rotations, projected lineups, analytics pages, and even off-court partnership options, all with one theme: what the Lakers would look like with Klay Thompson. The first page wasn't even basketball related. It was a photo mock-up of Klay in a purple and gold jersey. Clean, bold, the kind of image that sends fan bases into panic mode. Klay stared at it like he was looking at a version of himself from another timeline. LeBron continued, "They won't give you the role you deserve anymore. You know it, I know it, and they know it." Klay didn't answer, but his jaw tightened, the kind of micro-expression that psychologists claim reveals unspoken truth. The Warriors loved him, yes, but he wasn't blind. He saw the changes. He felt the shift. And now, the one player nobody expected him to sit with behind closed doors was outlining a future he didn't even know he wanted. LeBron flipped another page. This one showed a side-by-side comparison. Warriors shot distribution versus projected Lakers distribution with Klay added. Underneath, circled in red, were the words: more touches, more freedom, more impact. Then, LeBron dropped a line that sent the internet spiraling when the sources leaked it weeks later. "You've carried them longer than they realize. Why not carry yourself for once?" Klay leaned back, rubbed his face, and let out a frustrated exhale. "I don't want drama." LeBron smirked. "Drama finds you when you're great." At that exact moment, and this is where things get even crazier, Klay's phone buzzed. One single vibration, one notification. And that was a moment cameras later captured the beginning of what fans now call the night Klay's loyalty cracked. The message preview read, "Don't do anything stupid. Unknown sender." The aviation Wi-Fi logs would later reveal that the number was unregistered, bouncing through international servers. Translation: someone didn't want Klay making decisions without them. Klay turned the phone upside down again. LeBron didn't push. He just watched. Outside the aircraft, the staff pretended not to hear anything, but one mechanic later swore that Klay's pacing could be heard through the cabin floor. Inside, Klay ran a hand through his hair and muttered, "This is going to blow up everything." LeBron replied, "Good. Some things need to blow up before they get rebuilt." Meanwhile, the internet was already bubbling. A TMZ-affiliated blog posted a blurry image of someone who looked like Klay Thompson stepping into a black SUV. Reddit erupted with theories. Twitter went into meltdown mode. Klay to the Lakers? Bro, stop. No way Steph lets this happen. This league is cooked if LeBron pulls this off. But none of them knew what was said next. LeBron opened a second folder, this one thinner, more personal. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. The first was a mock timeline showing Klay's declining shot opportunities over the past 3 seasons. The second was a list of potential off-court deals, endorsements, appearances, charity collabs, even a brand partnership idea involving Klay's boat lifestyle. Klay wasn't just being offered a roster spot, he was being offered rebirth. And then LeBron said the sentence that shifted the entire mood of the room. "You're not here because of the Warriors. You're here because you're tired of pretending nothing's changed." Klay didn't respond, but his eyes said everything. As the plane hummed quietly, LeBron tapped on the screen beside him and brought up a video clip. Not public, not leaked, but something only players close to certain circles had seen. It showed a recent moment from a Warriors practice where Klay seemed visibly irritated, throwing his towel, walking to the side, ignoring a play call. The clip wasn't dramatic on its own, but when viewed with context, it was telling. "Someone recorded that?" Klay said. "People record everything," LeBron replied. The silence returned. Then, the plot twist. LeBron leaned back and said, "Before we go any further, there's something you should know." Klay narrowed his eyes. LeBron continued, "This wasn't my idea." Klay's heart skipped. LeBron added, "Another name came up, someone who wanted this meeting to happen, someone who thinks your next chapter shouldn't be written in Golden State." Klay's entire expression changed. This wasn't just LeBron recruiting. This was someone else. Someone with influence, reach, and a personal stake in Klay's decision, pulling strings behind the scenes. Who? Klay asked. LeBron slid the final envelope across the table. Klay opened it slowly, and when he saw the name printed inside, his entire posture changed. Shock, confusion, anger, all layered in a single expression. Why would they get involved? Klay whispered. LeBron shook his head. That's what I wanted to ask you. Klay stared at the name again, breathing heavier now. This wasn't a teammate. This wasn't a coach. This wasn't an agent. This was someone who should have stayed far away from this conversation. Someone who had no business influencing Klay's next move. The cabin felt colder. The stakes doubled. And now the meeting wasn't just about basketball. It was about betrayal moving quietly behind Klay's back. As Klay closed the folder, LeBron added one final line. This isn't just a move, it's a message. Klay looked up slowly. What kind of message? LeBron's eyes didn't blink. The kind that changes a league. And that's when the cabin door clicked from the outside, a signal that someone else had arrived on the runway earlier than expected. Klay and LeBron turned toward the sound simultaneously, because the next person walking up those steps was the last person either of them expected. The click of the cabin door echoed like a warning shot. Every muscle in Klay's shoulders tightened. LeBron leaned back, unreadable, but his eyes shifted toward the entrance, sharp, alert, like a man who already had Plan B and Plan C in his pocket. Footsteps climbed the stairs. Slow, controlled, confident, not the walk of someone nervous or unsure. The kind of walk you hear only from someone who knows their presence alone is a message, Klay whispered. It can't be who I think it is. LeBron didn't answer. He just stared at the doorway. And then the silhouette appeared. Tall, familiar. Someone who had been closer to Klay than the media ever knew. Someone who had history woven deep into the cracks of the Warriors dynasty. Someone whose name in that envelope only told half the story. When the person finally stepped fully into the cabin light, Klay's entire face froze. It was Bob Myers, the former architect of the Warriors dynasty. The man who believed in Klay through every injury, every slump, every comeback. The man Klay thought had stepped away for peace, for rest, for a new chapter. But here he was, stepping into a secret late-night plane meeting between Klay and LeBron James. Klay stood up instantly. What are you doing here? Myers raised his hand slightly, the way a surgeon approaches a patient. Calm, careful, measured, Klay breathed. I'm not here to pressure you. I'm here because you deserve the truth. LeBron didn't move. Whatever this was, he was letting it unfold. Klay shook his head. So the envelope that was real? It was, Myers said softly. I sent it. Klay's voice cracked with confusion. Why? Myers exhaled. Because Golden State is no longer the place you think it is. That line cut deeper than any trade rumor ever could. Klay stepped back. You of all people? Why would you be involved in this? Myers took a seat opposite him, placing a folder of his own on the table. Because what's happening inside that organization right now isn't something you're supposed to find out from reporters or Twitter leaks. You should hear it from someone who actually cares. Klay didn't sit. He couldn't. LeBron finally spoke. He told me to wait until he arrived before we went further. Klay's head snapped toward LeBron. So you knew he was coming? LeBron nodded. I didn't know why, just that it mattered. Myers leaned forward. Klay, I'm going to tell you something that'll make everything you've been feeling make sense. He opened the folder, slowly. Inside were internal reports, performance projections, and a printed email chain. But it wasn't the data that shook Klay, it was the subject line of the top email. Long-term planning, preparing for a post-Klay era. Klay felt the floor tilt beneath him. Myers spoke carefully. They've been phasing you out for months. Not because of your performance. Not because of your loyalty. Because of age, contracts, and politics. Klay blinked hard. I gave them everything. I know, Myers said, voice heavy. And that's why you deserve a choice that's actually yours. Klay grabbed the paper, reading faster now, scanning key sentences. Reduce role recommended. Shift toward younger core. Future cap strategy excludes K to T. Each line felt like a punch. LeBron watched him with the calm focus of someone who had seen this movie a dozen times in his career. Stars aging, dynasties fading, loyalty evaporating the second it stopped being convenient. Myers continued, "The moment I saw these conversations happening behind closed doors, I knew I couldn't stay silent." Klay finally sat down, not carefully, but like someone whose legs gave out. Myers added, "You weren't supposed to find out like this. They were going to talk to you at the right time. But that usually means after decisions are already made." Klay stared at the folder. "So this meeting wasn't about LeBron recruiting me?" LeBron raised an eyebrow. "Oh, that part is real too." Klay cracked the faintest, bitter smile. "Of course it is." Myers folded his hands. "Think of this as a crossroads. Not pressure, not manipulation, just information. You deserve to stand in a room where people tell you the truth for once." The plain cabin fell silent again, but this time it wasn't tension. It was realization. Weeks of weird energy suddenly made sense. The lack of communication, the awkward rotations, the sudden push for younger wings, the shrinking role, the off-court distance, the whispered front office meetings Klay wasn't invited to. It all clicked. Klay whispered, "So I was supposed to be left behind quietly." Myers didn't look away. "They call it strategy. I call it disrespect." LeBron leaned back. "And that's why you're here. Because sometimes the hardest part about loyalty is realizing you're the only one still holding on." Klay let out a long breath, half anger, half sadness. Then Myers added something unexpected. "I'm not telling you to join the Lakers. I'm not telling you to leave the Warriors. I'm telling you to choose yourself for once." Klay looked up slowly. "Why do you even care anymore? You're gone." Myers sighed. "Because even after I left, I still watched everything fall apart. And I knew you'd be the last to admit it." The words hit him hard. Outside, rain had begun tapping against the aircraft windows. Soft, rhythmic, like background noise to a life-changing decision. LeBron broke the silence. "Whatever you decide, you'll still be Klay Thompson. The league respects you. Fans adore you. But this," he tapped the folder gently, "this is the first time in your career where you get to decide what's next." Klay leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. Not to escape, but to see things clearly. Memories flashed. Parades, championship rings, laughing with Steph, hugging Draymond, crying after injury, walking back onto court after years of pain, believing in a franchise that once believed in him. Then newer memories, bench stretches, side glances, contract conversations behind his back, being treated like an optional piece instead of foundational one. He opened his eyes again. Myers asked gently, "So what do you want, Klay?" Klay didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed both folders, the Lakers' offer and the Warriors' post-Klay documents, and held them together like weights in his hands. "It's crazy," Klay said quietly. "I thought the hardest part of this would be turning my back on the Warriors. Turns out the hardest part is realizing they already turned theirs." Neither Myers nor LeBron spoke, because they didn't need to. The engine hummed, the rain softened, and for the first time all night, Klay looked calm, not broken, not lost, just calm, like someone who finally saw the truth clearly. He stood up. LeBron watched carefully. "What are you thinking?" Klay took a deep breath. "I'm thinking," he said, "that my next move won't be controlled by anybody but me." Myers nodded slowly, a proud sadness in his eyes. Klay walked toward the cabin door, folder still in hand. He paused before stepping out. "I don't know where I'm going next," he said softly, "but I know where I'm not staying." LeBron stood. Myers stood, but neither stopped him. Klay opened the door. A blast of cold air rushed in. Camera flashes lit up the horizon. Someone had leaked the meeting. Reporters were already sprinting across the runway. In that split second, Klay realized something. Even if he disappeared without a trace, the secrets would stay. And there you have it, the night everything changed. A secret jet, a silent runway, a meeting nobody was supposed to know about. and a choice that could reshape the league in ways fans aren't ready for. Klay Thompson didn't just walk out of that cabin with 2 folders. He walked out with a new truth, a truth that shook him, freed him, and pushed him into a future written on his terms, not anybody else's. But here's the wild part. This story is far from over, because that runway was already swarmed with cameras, reporters, and insiders minutes after he stepped outside. Then somebody leaked it on purpose. Somebody wanted this to go public. Somebody wanted the world to know that Klay was no longer locked into his old identity. Now the real question begins. Was it LeBron? Was it Bob Myers? Was it someone inside Golden State trying to twist the narrative before Klay could speak? Or was it a completely different name watching from the shadows? Because trust me, in the NBA, nothing leaks by accident. Every headline has a mastermind behind it. Every rumor has a motive. Every anonymous source is usually someone with an agenda. But what do you think? Did Klay just begin the biggest career transformation of his life? Or is he walking straight into a new kind of storm? Should he stay loyal to what he built, or finally choose himself after years of being overlooked? Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading every one of them. And if you want the next chapter, the fallout, the reactions, the backdoor negotiations, the leaks that haven't hit the timeline yet, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this story, this isn't ending. It's just beginning.